We're driving a 2022 Toyota 4Runner TRD Sport. Coming up, I'm gonna tell you something that absolutely shocked me about this vehicle. But first, information explosion! The 4Runner TRD Sport is a somewhat more on-road focused, sportier version of the 4Runner. Let us begin with interior.
First off, I love these big beefy knobs because they give it a real rugged vibe in here. Like you're about to go have some adventures.
Like you could operate these with a mitten on.
Totally. My second thought is it feels like we're in another decade. This gear selector.
It's like a feature. Like nowadays, it's usually just like a couple buttons or like a little twisty knob or something like that.
Also, digital clock right above the clock on the screen. It makes you feel like, was there not a screen featured in here when they first designed that clock?
Yeah, or maybe a screen so small that they didn't have room for clock space. The 5th generation 4Runner was introduced in 2010, and right now you are thinking, here we go again. The people who bought a Bronco are going to complain about how old the 4Runner is. I'm going to make your argument for you. It is a proven and reliable vehicle, and when you buy it, you know it's going to just run for years, and you're not gambling on new technology. I know. I believe you. I embrace that philosophy. And to further prove that we're not just Bronco people complaining about 4Runners, there are a lot of things I really like about the interior. Second row space, fantastic. I like the tilt of the rear seat backs in the second row. And then cargo space is gargantuan. And one of the reasons is that you can get a third row seat in your 4Runner. You can't get a third row in a Bronco or a Wrangler. It's like an $800 option. You can get it, I think, on pretty much any trim, but so much cargo space to work with there.
Which is really good because folding down that second row takes more steps than I'm used to. It's nice when you can just pull a lever and it folds itself, including the headrest.
The removable headrest is oftentimes a cue that you're driving a vehicle that was not designed recently. Getting the car seat in and out, not a problem because it's pretty wide aperture. When we get our kiddo in and out, any issues?
No, there's actually more step than she maybe needs.
The running boards that power down, they're like a $1,500 option, and I think they're pretty unnecessary. And the reason I think that is because one of the first things I did was I whacked my shin on the running board because I did not realize this had power down running boards, and it's just not that high riding, which is ironic because ground clearance on the 4Runner is actually quite good. In fact, it's much better than it would be on a base Bronco. Kiddo, while you're riding back there, how do you feel about the view out? Can you see okay?
Yeah, I can see great. I can see really good out every window.
So we got pretty good visibility back there. In terms of safety, 4-star overall, but 3-star, sorry sweetie, 3-star for front passenger impact,
oh, no.
4-star over on this side. Those are the kind of numbers that with a newer vehicle, Toyota would probably want those to be 5 stars across the board. On the other hand, there are a lot of airbags. We got 8 airbags standard, and they also have included a standard suite of active driver assist. So lane keeping assist, and there's a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection. So what do we think? Is the Toyota 4Runner family friendly?
Family friendly.
Yeah, family friendly. Rear window test. No, no, no. The other rear window.
All the way down.
All the way down. Nice. Armrest tests. I think these are very cushy armrests, both inboard and outboard. I wish it came in just a little bit closer so I can keep my hands on the wheel with my full grip rather than just my fingertips, while also keeping my arms on the armrest. That said, it's generally quite comfortable. I'm gonna give it 3/4 up on the inboard and the outboard. Hey, if you subscribe to our channel, if you haven't, please do. At 100,000 subs, we're going to review a windowless white van. Style! Let me very quickly thank the sponsor for today's video, Flying Eyes Sunglasses. We wear them in the helicopter because they're incredibly lightweight, have super thin temples that fit under headsets. However, you also wear them as your daily glasses.
That's right, I have the new ophthalmic line of glasses, which has the same features you just mentioned, plus they have removable magnetic lenses, so I can wear them as my daily and as sunglasses.
We really like Flying Eye sunglasses, whether we're flying or on the ground, just living our daily lives. If you would appreciate aviation-grade sunglasses, click the link in the description below and you'll save 10% off using the promo code Micah. Flying Eye. It's been around for more than a decade, roughly unchanged, but man, there is something about getting a design. It's almost like buying a Porsche 911. Even if you get an older one, it still looks like a 911. And I do like that enduring quality to the 4Runner. This specific one, this is the TRD Sport. You've got a revised front fascia, the hood scoop, non-functional.
I wish it functioned.
I wish it functioned too. Why don't we get out there with the Dremel and we'll fix that after we're done shooting the video. And then the other thing that makes the TRD Sport unique is the 20-inch wheel entire combination. And the other thing we got to talk about, the exterior paint color. They call it Lunar Rock. How do you feel about it?
I love it, and it really complements the classic nature of the 4Runner well.
What do you guys think of the style of the Toyota 4Runner? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Tell us in the comments. If you guys are curious what we're doing between YouTube videos, feel free to give us a follow over on Instagram. In motion! At the beginning of the video, I teased that I was going to share something that shocked me about the 4Runner we're driving. I picked this vehicle up and drove it home before doing any research into it. I actually did not know what a TRD Sport was. As I was driving it up the hill among the many winding roads, I thought to myself, wow, that 4Runner is not made for driving on road, but that's okay because that's not its purpose.
Oh.
But I did my research after I got home and was shocked to discover that this was the sporty on-road version of the 4Runner. What makes it sportier on-road is something called X-Reus. It's supposed to be kind of flatter when you drive it. It didn't strike me as exceptionally flat, but I think that might be because I was distracted by the steering, an incredibly slow ratio. 18.4 to 1. For comparison, a Subaru Ascent has a fairly quick steering ratio, so this is a much slower steering 4Runner. You can do things like this and it doesn't really change the trajectory all that much. The bottom line is that this might be the sportiest 4Runner, but it is not a sporty driving vehicle. And by the way, feel free to use the graphic because I do feel like I'm on a little bit of a rant here. I'm going to talk about the powertrain and the fact that there is an okay amount of power from the V6, though there's more power from our turbocharged 4 and our Bronco, but forget the amount of power. The way it's distributed via the 5-speed automatic transmission is just inadequate for modern standards in that there are big gaps between ratios. It's hard to get the exact amount of power you want at a given moment with so few ratios. And as long as I'm complaining, we're going to get them all out of the way. The brake feel is problematic for me. We don't like the brake feel in our Bronco because there's a lot of dead space at the top of the pedal. But in this one, it's truly a wooden feeling pedal in that it's hard to get the amount of deceleration you want based on your pedal pressure. All of this stuff is stuff you will get used to if you buy a vehicle, but just know, compared to other vehicles, it's not great. Praise time! I'm gonna give some praise now.
Yay!
I think it rides pretty well. Are you guys tired of me talking? Me too. Evie's driving the 4Runner. Tell me, what do you think about visibility?
I do like that this is more of a vertical A-pillar. Sometimes when it's super horizontal, I feel like it takes a lot to see all around it. That side has good visibility. This side, not so much. That B-pillar is right there.
But if you actually look at the size of the B-pillar, it's much smaller than most B-pillars that we see in modern vehicles. What I noted driving this thing is that the thinness of the A-pillar and B-pillar are a little bit of a giveaway that it's an old vehicle. The newer the car, the thicker the pillars, and a lot of that has to do with rollover strength and crash tests. Do me a favor, floor it. How do you feel about the power?
That seemed reasonable, but I do notice when I try to floor it on a hill, it's not so responsive.
It gets into some of the stuff that I was talking about, which is that the V6 is fine in terms of power, but because it's paired with that 5-speed automatic transmission, not enough power or too much power. And that's the problem with only having 5 ratios to choose from. The impatient part of me, as you might imagine, is going crazy right now following a bobcat on the road. I need to have a mantra. Smooth, open applesauce. I don't know what that means. My only other question is, how do you feel, generally speaking, driving the 4Runner?
Driving it around yesterday, I was in H4, and the entire time I was like is this the correct mode for actually driving around? Am I in an off-road mode that I shouldn't be driving on the street in?
The first mistake there is thinking of these as modes, and they really aren't. You're used to driving a Bronco where it's like you put it in a situationally appropriate mode. Slippery mode, mud and ruts, sand. They do have those features on higher level trims, but in this one, you really have a mechanical function here. You have H2, which is just straight up rear wheel drive, and then you have H4, which puts it in 4-wheel drive, and if I am wrong, you guys are going to correct me, but there is no center differential in most 4Runners. If you go to the limited trim, there's a Torsen limited slip, which allows some variation of torque to front and rear tires. In this 4Runner, when you put it in 4 high, it basically locks the front and rear tires together. So if you're driving and you're turning on a non-slippery surface, you're going to notice some binding. You have to be a little bit more deliberate with your choice. You kind of have to know what's happening mechanically.
Good to know.
All right, I think we've talked it out. We've made some discoveries. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. All right, we got Evie's perspective. I think we should, even though this is not the off-roadiest of 4Runners, we should take it off-road, albeit briefly. Okay, we are venturing off-road, and I'm going to put it into 4 high. There's a little lockout mechanism here. So the TRD Sport, it's the least off-roady 4Runner because of like the lack of sidewall. I want to be a little bit more cautious about the rocks and stuff we go over. What I'm curious though is articulation, because when you go off-road, if it's just dirt, yeah, sure, it's fine. You could probably go up a Civic, but if you have a big moment where one tire is not on the ground, that's where things get complicated. Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, big articulation. Ooh. Let's see what happens. This is slippery, big rut on the left side. Let's see if we can, there you go. You hear the brakes? The brakes are trying to send power to the tire that's touching the ground. I will say though, that it did a really good job there.
I will too.
Yeah, kiddo agrees.
Good job, car.
Good job, car. This is getting pretty muddy, pretty slippery. There's some snow up here. I'm curious to see how the 20-inch tire wheel package handles some of this more slippery stuff. You know, honestly, doing great.
Yeah, this is powering right through.
Even though this is not the most robust off-road version of the 4Runner, it's doing great. All right, we're having a good time conquering nature. Let's get back on road. Okay, so we have an all-around okay package. If you drive the 4Runner on a daily basis, it's fine. But I also think Toyota has more knowledge and cleverness up their sleeve, and I'd love to see what they do with a modernized 4Runner. All right, we have exited the ranch zone. Let's go on to the emotion factor. What do you think? Emotion factor?
Not because of the style or the on-road performance, but because you can go on adventures in this vehicle.
Yes, the adventure spirit is absolutely baked into the 4Runner equation, and I'm going to add that there is something deeply satisfying about knowing that you made the smart choice. You didn't buy the thing that's going to explode in 20,000 miles. You got the 4Runner. It's true. The 4Runners have a great reputation, and that is deeply satisfying. Are you emotionally moved to buy a Toyota 4Runner of your very own? If so, click the Kelley Blue Book listing link in the description below. Remarks! Infotainment. Have you used it? What do you think?
I really like the way the infotainment is laid out. It's a combination of physical buttons, a touch screen, and knobs. I found it super easy to use. The look of the graphics is definitely showing its age. Not only is the backup camera blurry, but even the little lines are pixelated, which I don't know the last time I saw that.
Bloop, bloop.
But
And it's a Pong game when you're not using it.
totally.
So right now, I feel like I keep cutting off commenters, but you're probably thinking, it works fine, what's the problem with the look? You're right, it can work fine and look old. Also, it can work fine and look new. And by the way, it's an 8-inch screen, and that is standard across the board. There's no larger screen in the higher trims. Yeah,
But
it works
I
great.
did not feel like it was lacking.
No, definitely not. It's almost like the big 12-inch screen is just sort of like a, hey, look how modern we are.
Yeah.
And I will guarantee you, when the next generation 4Runner comes along, there's going to be a big screen in it. Speaking of technology, our 4Runner that we're driving here has a $1,300 technology package, and I was like, what is that? The technology package is blind spot warning and rear cross traffic alert. That's it. Shouldn't you just call that like a visibility package or something? But I would say that visibility is okay enough that maybe it's not necessary, and the price seems a little bit high for those two features you're getting. Talking about tow, every single 4Runner can tow 5,000 pounds. And what I really like is that they all include a hitch with a 7 and a 4-pin connector. Lady, can I make a trim recommendation?
You sure can.
I'm gonna go with the base SR5 trim. I'm always inclined to recommend the trim that gives you the essentials at the lowest possible price because I am a cheap. The SR5 is cool. They all come with keyless access and push button start, which is always a critical thing for me. It includes that standard suite of active driver assists, and it includes the 8-inch screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's like we're kind of hitting the basics. Like,
nice.
Why spend more? Here's why you want to spend slightly more. Definitely do not get a 2-wheel drive 4Runner, because then you've got the look of an off-roader without the capability of an off-roader. Spend $1,900, please get 4-wheel drive. All that said, the 4Runner you choose is largely dependent on your mission. If you go to the TRD Off-Road or the TRD Pro, you can get a locking rear differential. We have found in our off-roading, having that locking function in our Bronco makes it much easier to get over big articulation movements, and we didn't fully appreciate that until we started doing some off-roading in vehicles that are using the brakes to try and send power to the wheel that's on the ground. By the way, higher trims, you can get things like multiple drive modes, kind of like you were talking about earlier. It's like multi-terrain select or something like that. On-screen text, please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think if I was buying a 4Runner, I'd probably go with the TRD Off-Road. It's like about 41.5 grand, but you get that electronic locking rear differential, which I think is kind of, for us now, a critical part of being able to go confidently off-road. And then let's talk about the competitions. Ford Bronco, like we own, or the Jeep Wrangler. You can also include other things like maybe the Chevy Blazer, Honda Passport, that kind of thing. Hey, did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comments section. Synopsis!
So we just got a huge order of Salt and Straw.
Salt and Straw ice cream, my favorite ice cream purveyor from Portland, Oregon.
The Toyota 4Runner is the ultimate vanilla of two-row SUVs.
Yeah, we got the ultimate French vanilla, and it's a very, very tasty vanilla. Delicious. You can have a good time with that vanilla. But we also got the salted malted cookie dough ice cream, and then we got one that has like pancakes, blueberry pancakes and bacon in it. There's a lot of really interesting flavors happening there.
Maybe you want the security of the ultimate vanilla. You're not going to be weirded out by bacon in your ice cream.
Yeah, they make a fine vanilla.
Why are you talking about ice cream? You're supposed to be talking about cars.
It's called a metaphor. Did you like this video? If so, feel free to hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, feel free to subscribe. If you're curious what we're doing between YouTube videos, you can follow us on Instagram, or if you dare tread in the world of TikTok, I am over there too. Family, I think we've done a pretty good job reviewing the Toyota 4Runner TRD Sport. May I have a 5?
Foxy 2.
Little 5, Foxy 5, Child 5, Sweetie 5, and you. Come get your high five.